2021 is finally behind us, and it's time to talk about my personal favorite movies of the year. Now, unlike previous years, I did not end up seeing as many films as I usually do, and a lot of that is due to just not being really in the best mood to watch all of these movies. I have felt a little bit burnt out after the past several years of watching basically every movie that came out. And so this year I decided to sit back and just watch the movies that I was absolutely interested in. And I just felt a little bit more rewarded for that. And, you know, that might be disappointing for some people out there, but for me, it was a nice little break. But also, I didn't get to end up seeing every film that I wanted to see, such as Belfast and The Tragedy of Macbeth, which just didn't come out in my area. But the ones that I did see, I really did enjoy, and I'm glad to talk about them on this list. Now, also, like previous years, I would do a worst of video. However, I didn't really see that many bad movies this year. I tried to stay clear of them and watch only the ones that I was absolutely interested in. Some movies throughout the year I was a little bit disappointed by, but for those that are interested, the worst film that I ended up seeing was Earwig and the Witch, the Studio Ghibli film. That was the worst film that I saw of this year. Goes to show you that I didn't see that many bad movies this year. So anyway, let's get started by talking about my list proper with some honorable mentions. And at the start here, we have Judas and the Black Messiah, Eternals, House of Gucci, Zack Snyder's Justice League, and Raya and the Last Dragon. Congratulations to those films for making my honorable mentions. I know some of those films may be controversial for some people, but I really, really enjoyed these films, and they deserve to be on my favorite movies list of this year. However, they just didn't quite make the cut. So anyway, let's get started with number 10. And at number 10, we have ShangChi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. I was not expecting to love this film as much as I did. The trailers didn't grab me, but as soon as I started watching it, I was enthralled by how well it dealt with its characters and how good the cinematography and music and action was. And it all came together to make a fun, lighthearted romp that had a very complex villain and just really good characters. This was something new and interesting for the MCU that I thought really did land, and I enjoyed it so much. I've watched it a couple times now, and it just gets better and better in my opinion. At number 9, we have No Time to Die. It is Daniel Craig's swan song for the Bond franchise, and man, what a way to go out. This is a love letter to not just Daniel Craig's tenure as James Bond, but it is a love letter to the character of James Bond, with many references to other movies and the books. And it tells a really compelling story of a man that is at the end of his rope as things begin to crumble around him. It does some really interesting things, obviously making James Bond, the character, die at the end of the movie, but also giving him a family. And I thought that was so heartwarming, and it really made this film really special. It's not the most elegant of the Bond films. I still like Casino Royale and Skyfall a bit more, but this is a really solid ending for this character and for this actor in his tenure as Bond. At number 8, we have Val. This is a beautiful documentary about Val Kilmer and really showing his love for the art of filmmaking, and also just showing us his life, the things he loves, the things he hates, and how he reflects on his life now that he is older. It details a lot of his upbringing and goes all the way until, you know, he developed cancer. And it is so heartwarming and really can bring a tear to your eye. My favorite moment in the entire thing is he's wearing all this jewelry throughout the film, and I thought that was rather weird. I mean, more power to you, but then I found out the reasoning behind it is his mother passed away, and it was her jewelry. and he wore it so that he could be a little bit closer to her. And it was after that that I realized that this is one of the best documentaries of this year, and one of the best documentaries I've seen, period. I loved this so much. It really shows the passion of an actor slash director that really does say something about them as a person and really gets you to understand them, because I feel like we don't understand our celebrities as much as we want to, and we see that they are real people underneath, and I think this documentary really shows that. At number 7, we have The Suicide Squad, which is a fantastic movie. It's not only funny and filled with heart, but is violent as hell, and to me, is James Gunn's best film to date so far. I had a blast with this film, with its characters, with the look of the film, just the feel of it. It's such a visceral experience. I loved watching every minute of it, and it's just very well crafted and fun, and it's exactly what a superhero film should be. I can't wait to see more from James Gunn going forward. I'm really excited for the Peacemaker miniseries that he's doing, and yeah, I love this film so much. It is one of my favorite DC films, one of my favorite DCEU films, and just a really great film all around. At number 6, we have The Last Duel. Ridley Scott gave us 2 movies this year, both that I absolutely loved, and in many ways, they reflect 2 of my favorite Ridley Scott films that are on my favorite movies of all time. If Last Duel is his Kingdom of Heaven, then House of Gucci was his All the Money in the World, and I absolutely love that. But The Last Duel does a really good job of telling us a really compelling story through 3 different perspectives, giving us the Rashomon effect in modern cinema, and I absolutely adored it. I thought that Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Adam Driver, and Comer did such a fantastic job in this film, just telling a compelling, interesting story from different perspectives, and you see just how different each story is and how it builds off of the other, and the last act of this film is absolutely fantastic as we see what is deemed to be the truth. It is a visceral experience. I absolutely loved it. So much fun, and it's just a film that is definitely going to stick with me. At number 5, we have Spider-Man No Way Home. This movie had a lot to live up to, and it definitely did. It exceeded my expectations and made me, for the first time, love the MCU's Spider-Man. I just haven't been the biggest fan of Tom Holland's Spider-Man. I have really enjoyed him. I've enjoyed his movies, but I've never loved them, and this one I absolutely loved. By the end of this movie, it put Tom Holland's Spider-Man in where I wanted him to be all along in the MCU. It's compelling. I also love being able to see returning Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield, as well as Tobey Maguire. Andrew Garfield in particular does an absolutely fantastic job, but it's great just seeing all these villains and just seeing this beautiful love letter to the Spider-Man franchise. And it was just everything I wanted it to be and more, and I can't wait to watch it more and more. At number 4, we have Last Night in Soho. Now, Last Night in Soho is not a perfect film. The 3rd act of the film is kind of a bit flawed, but I absolutely adored this film so much. From its characters to its music to the beautiful cinematography. I loved looking at this film. This is a filmmaker's dream of a movie. It's compelling with its interesting characters and very interesting world and story, but it is the cinematography that is king throughout this. Every shot is just absolutely gorgeous to look at, and I couldn't believe my eyes at some of the techniques that Edgar Wright was using. That dance scene in particular, where the two are dropping in and out, are absolutely wonderful. This was a great experience in the theater. I hate that it bombed, but it was something that I am definitely going to remember for a long, long time. At number 3, we have West Side Story, the remake of the original classic based off of the musical, and I adored this film so much. In fact, I loved it even more than the original, and I really, really enjoyed the original a lot. But this just brought the magic of musicals for me. It was beautiful to watch. I really feel like Spielberg is the biggest fan of West Side Story. I think West Side Story is probably one of his favorite movies of all time, and it really shows in this because of the love that was put into this film. The cinematography, the choreography, the music. The acting is also really good, and I think Ansel Elgort is actually pretty underrated, and I think that people are kind of complaining about him in this film as, you know, being the weak link, but I think he does an absolute stellar job. Everyone else is fantastic too. The guy that plays Bernardo, wonderful. Maria, fantastic. And I think it just does a really good job of adapting this story. And it's a story that is absolutely timeless. It's Romeo and Juliet. Yeah, we've seen this all before, but it continues to be a story that's retold and retold because it works. It's compelling, and I think that's what I love about it. It's like a myth brought to life, and I absolutely adored it so much. I was glued to the screen every second of the film. It was just a really wonderful experience in a theater. At number 2, we have Pig, which to me is Nicolas Cage's best performance. I found this film so compelling and thought-provoking and different from what I was expecting. It is a very slow burn movie, but not in a boring way, as some people would put it. It's very much a character study of this man that threw his entire life away and is after this one pig that is kind of everything to him. And we see this critique of, you know, food chains and restaurants, but also we see underneath this character that is just brewing with so much grief and sadness. And it was one of the best experiences watching a movie this year. I thought this was super compelling. Nick Cage did an absolute fantastic job. And for a first-time director, this is really great work. But yeah, I love this film. This is why I love movies. They can tell just interesting, bizarre stories and make you really, really care. And at number 1, my favorite film of 2021 is The Green Knight. I absolutely adored this film. This is not only the best film that I saw this year, it is one of my favorite films, period. This is the type of film that inspires me. It makes me think, it makes me feel, and it is just so wonderful to watch. The movie is gorgeous. This is one of the best looking films that I've seen all year. The fantasy elements are so crucial to this film, and they land so well. I also love how it adapts, but also deconstructs this Arthurian legend to tell a story that is similar enough, but very different, and that was a bold, wise choice. Really making Sir Gawain fail at all his tests, except for the final one. And I loved that idea because in the original story, he passes all his tests, but fails his last one with the Green Knight. It's a beautiful, dark-looking movie with some great practical effects, some great set design, and a wonderful character study that is just absolutely wonderful. This is a film that I have been thinking about ever since I saw it in the theaters. In fact, I saw this movie twice, and it has just been so compelling to think about. I absolutely adore it, and that's why it's my favorite film of 2021. Well, guys, that's all for you. I hope you enjoyed this. What were your favorite films of 21? Let me know in the comment section below, and as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and stay positive.